Good evening, ladies. How you doing?
Hello.
Fine.
So Ngozi and Sheyi is in the studio with us.
Yes, they are. After the
sorry.
hiatus last week.
But we agreed now.
You left me on Taiwan room.
But we beg you guys now.
Alright, it's Taiwo, Anu, Sheyi, and Ngozi once again in the studio, and I'm so excited that we are complete.
Yes, it's good to have you girls, ladies, back.
And it's good to be back with you.
Yeah, it's good to be.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Sheyi and Ngozi start the discussion today because we have said everything that we can say last week.
Next one, Taiwo.
Okay, so in case you guys don't know what's going on, last week we started speaking on how to be assertive, being assertive in situations whereby you know that your voice, your opinion needs to be heard, but you're afraid. And then so Anu and I tried to tackle the topic the best way we could. So Ngozi, Sheyi.
Okay, well, I was just going to come at it from the stance of being married. The truth about it is that as a woman, as a married woman, you are taught, and it's true, you are taught to always know that your husband is the head and you accord him that respect and all. And then there are times when you probably feel that his decision may not be for the best interest of yourself or then your family. And at such times, I think that's when you can actually speak up. And I think of someone like Esther in the Bible, whose entire tribe was going to be wiped out if she did not speak up. And I think that we need to understand, fine, of course she wasn't even at that time allowed to come into the king's presence and all, but then she realized that she was there for a time like that, and that's just the way we are as wives in our families. Sometimes it's even if it's a decision that he probably would take and it would affect your family or his work and all. So I think that we need to understand that we can create that balance between being respectful as wives and also speaking up when we have to.
Deep, Sheyi.
Very deep.
Okay, you have something to say, Anu?
The floor is yours.
Well, I was thinking about it more from the point of view of an employee actually, and you have to speak up when it comes to your boss. And there are certain ways. There are some ways that you can do it, and there are some ways you shouldn't do it. But sometimes it's by when you've had bad experiences, you learn the way to do it and the way not to do it. And then there are some times when you realize that coming from you won't be a good thing, so you go through somebody else. I've had to do that a few times when I've had suggestions, and then I'll look at the entire scenario and I'm like, okay, this guy or my guy or whatever will not take it from me, but if I can actually go and talk to somebody else that has his ear, I talk to her, and then she says it and all that. So there are sometimes yes you go direct, but there are sometimes it has to be indirect. So long as what should be done is done.
It's done.
I believe is okay.
Let's talk about the negative effect of choosing not to speak up. When you decide that, okay, maybe to avoid confrontation, it's better not to say anything, and you leave like that. What's the worst that can happen? Sometimes silence is golden, they say, and the Bible says, be slow to speak and be,
but eventually speak. Be quick
to listen.
While Ngozi was talking about the marital aspect, I just recalled a story that still gives me chills till today. About there was a time in the country we had a major plane disaster, and particularly there were a lot of school children that were lost. Okay, so there was a woman who had a dream about a plane crash, and her children were in school. They were supposed to come back to Lagos via a plane. So she told her husband that she had a very bad dream. She woke up with chills, and he should please not allow the children to come. That she just stayed during. It was just a short break.
Yeah, I think
the man
midterm.
said. So the man was like, "What? No, he doesn't believe in superstitious things like that." Okay, so she actually, I don't know what, I think she actually tried to stop. She didn't book for the plane tickets. The guy went behind her back and still booked. At the end of the day, she found out that this guy, there's nothing she could do, but she had such a strong feeling. They lost all their kids in that plane.
But would you say she wasn't assertive? She was. Is this even a question of being unassertive?
Because she had such
the
fact is that she had such a strong feeling. The feeling that she had was up to the point of her taking action, like actually maybe flying over to meet the kids and staying there with them or something. She felt so strongly about it, but at a point she gave in to her husband.
But eventually, you have to think of from the husband's point of view.
Yeah.
The feeling is hers. She had the dream. He has not experienced it. So for him, he's thinking this was being silly.
But you know, when you're like, I'm not married, but I feel that when you're in that kind of, you have to listen. And when you see something affecting your better half that much, up to the point that the person is almost getting hysterical, you have to at least give the person, you know.
Unfortunately, the guy learned the hard way,
which is so terrible.
Very
you know,
terrible.
That thing can rock their marriage.
Seriously, it can, you know.
And I think another area where I can actually say that you would definitely see a negative impact of not speaking up is probably in parenting as well. There are times when you almost, and the truth about it is that if you look at your husband's background or your own background, there will probably be differences in the way discipline is meted out to children and all. So sometimes you actually have to make that decision. Personally, we have decided we would never correct each other in the presence of the child, even if my action is too harsh or something. But if I have to tell a child to be quiet or to shut up or to do something, you don't say that to the child or something. So I think that's one of the areas where if you don't speak up as a parent, you can actually allow your spouse or your spousal equivalent spoil your child. Really.
Let's take a musical break, and when we come back, we need to talk about the negative effects. You know, what if you don't speak, what are the disadvantages? You know, how does it affect you emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually? We'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, we are back, and Ngozi, Shei and Anu still in the studio, and myself, Taiwo. Okay, so before we went on the musical break, we said when we came back we're going to talk about the negative effects. So Anu.
Okay, negative effects. Now this is a little, what I call this bittersweet. I wouldn't call it negative. I'll call it there's something that there's a saying, God gives you beauty for ashes, but the ashes part was still there before the beauty part came. I have a beautiful son. He's 2 years old today. He's the joy of my life. Not today, I mean now. Seriously. Alright, so but I actually had him because I couldn't say no. You know, I was the relationship was not even meant to be in the first place. Okay, it's what you would call in quote a mistake, you understand? And it was something that could have been easily avoided by just saying no, you know. I didn't say no because I don't know what. Sometimes I look back and say, why couldn't I just say no? You understand? And today I have this beautiful son who I love, and I'm so thankful to God for every day, but I wish that it had been done the proper way. You understand? So that's just one thing. And you see, those simple actions of not saying no will have far-reaching consequences that even go beyond yourself, your own life, to reach other people's lives. So that's just one thing.
Let me ask this question, Shay, please answer this. When you decide, you know, that you don't want to be, you want your voice to be heard, and then people take that as being rude. And I know for ladies, especially, you know, younger ladies coming up, you're afraid of, especially when it relates to a relationship, you're afraid that the guy will feel like you're being very what's the word I'm looking for now? You're being very prude, prudish, and then you don't want to be rude, you don't want to be uptight, but at the same time you're not interested.
You have to say no, really, because you have to say no. That's the only thing I can say, because sometimes at the end of the day, who is going to be left with the effects, the consequences of your decision? Is it the guy, or is it the society that's talking about, or you? Because eventually, if you actually say yes in whatever way, whether you say yes and then a few actions or whatever, at the end of the day, if the consequences are negative, society is going to talk about you this one blah 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 blah. But if you say no, eventually they'll find that it's very, very quickly they move on to the next topic. But if you said the yes, you'll be the topic for a while, and all that. So you still have to say no, because eventually, when it boils down to it, it's you, and the consequences on you, your future, and everything, that the ripple effect afterwards. Because really, you really just have to speak up and say no in one way or the other.
I wanted to ask you before you say what you wanted to say, because that's something that is just very, when I think about it, I feel I'm very lucky to be a woman who is self-assured, and when I want something I go for it. But there's so many young ladies, beautiful bright young ladies, that because I don't know if they're craving for the attention of a man, or they just want to be desperately loved. Sometimes when they are not comfortable in a situation, to say no is a headache. So how do you speak to that? And is it something that has to do with I don't know, your background, insecurity, or desperation, or what exactly is going on?
I think first of all, as a Christian, definitely my stance will be that once something is being offered to me and it's on a wrong platter, I always know that there's something more beautiful, there's something pure coming my way, and it's almost like that's the carrot that is being dangled in front of me. It's so instructive. When I was a lot younger, I wanted to go to through film school and all, and there was this person who was really just offering me that on a platter of gold, and definitely I knew it wasn't free. It was not free. And I thought to myself, oh, I could go to the end of the world on this ticket. And I thought to myself, if it's not coming right, then there's something more beautiful ahead of me. I think that is what those ladies, in that position can have at the back of their minds, that as long as you are assured of God's love for you, you know that no matter what the devil or whatever anyone who is offering you something, who wants to really bring something negative into your life is offering, God loves you far much more than that, and he's bringing something even more beautiful your way. And I think it's a matter of patience. They need to understand that you need to be patient. I definitely have not gone to film school right now, but I know that I know it's still something that God can bring my way, and I understand that right now where I am, I'm happy. So I think it's knowing that there is a plan for you, and just working in it every single day, and being patient to see that unfold. I was going to come at the whole assertiveness really from the position of being a friend, and just understanding that even as you're friends with somebody, you still need to have your own personal you need to have your personal standards for life, and always understand that no matter how much you respect your friend, you still have to stand by your own values. A friend of mine whose ashwebi I bought, when he was telling me about ashwebi, she said, I'm sorry, my husband and I have decided that we are not doing ashwebi. And I was like, I was upset. I was upset. But I thought about it that she knows I bought her ashwebi, but she was assertive enough to tell me that we ain't doing ashwebi no more. So I think it's just a little thing, but we need to be that assertive.
Okay, so I'm throwing this at everybody now. There's been assertive, there's been rude, and there's been just plain stupid. Because you're in an office environment and then your boss tells you to do something, like, no, Taiwo Ungazi and Shay, you've told me I'm not going to be assertive, so I'm going to say no. So how do you air your opinion at the same time give respect to who respect is due?
There are times you have to read the conditions. There are certain ways. Sometimes being assertive is the way it's said and how it is said. And then there are sometimes being assertive is in not talking really, but in the action.
Okay.
So there's that. And then going back to those young ladies, really, it's sometimes there's some things that there's some decisions before you make it. There's some people you can actually talk to. You don't need to tell them that it's you. Just want to sound there. You want to use them as a sounding board. That okay, I know somebody that wants to do this and blah 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 blah. But sometimes because we are so young and all that, the world is our oyster and we're indestructible and all that. So we don't want anybody to lord it over us. You should do this and do that and all that. But there are certain things that if you're not quite sure about, there are certain people I believe that you can look at and like say that I can talk to this person and just ask really. But there are sometimes people don't want to take that option. But like I said, there was a time I went for one seminar and one lady got up and said that okay, that her voice is quiet, that she's quiet and all that, and he was talking about assertiveness. So she asked the speaker said that sometimes when you're quiet, sometimes you speak the loudest too. So sometimes maybe it's with a certain action that is very quiet, but you said
in a subtle manner, and they get
you send the message that hey, this is my own stance and this is where I stand, and I don't need to say too much.
I know. Like you said, maybe you're in yeah. Let me just talk about. Let's say you have a boss who you want to have a stand, and he's trying to, or she's trying to, like lord it over you in some way, or has something that you're not comfortable with doing, and you don't want to be disrespectful, but you want to be assertive. I think it's all about trying to make the person see reason, and not actually, like, wisdom has to come into play here, not actually making it seem as if you're accusing the person, but trying to make the person see reason. You can even actually talk in a way like you're on the person's side, while you're actually making your own view. No.
Yeah.
So,
And then Ngozi, last thing, sexual harassment in the office, your boss, and this is a job that you like this job, like it's just the perfect job, and he's on you. Obviously you're saying no, but at the same time, how do you, is there even a way to not be rude in this situation?
that sexual harassment thing is crossing a line. No, there's nothing about assertive. I mean, you have to be assertive. No, you have to be.
So are you rude with the assertiveness, or are you just firm and polite and say, you know what?
Oh my God, man!
If it's your boss,
If you love the job, because I know how hard it is to find a job that you love and pays you what you love as well. You really have to
Get on your knees.
Yes, you have to pray. There's some, maybe he'll be promoted and sent to the Atlanta office or something. But basically, if it's a job that you love, and then you must also have to even realize at the end of the day, you may have to get out of it.
Yeah.
You may have to get. You also need to look at how influential. If it's like a sole proprietorship, he calls the shots. So there's nobody who he's accountable to. You may have to leave. But if it's an environment where, like when I was in Unilab, we had a lot of women in the economics department. Everybody knew that all the men were uptight then, and they sat up because once you walk to a woman and say this man is trying to, they would ensure that guy is kicked out. So sometimes when you're in that kind of organization, maybe a global firm or something, you can actually take it up. But if it's in a smaller environment like that, you may just have to leave.
Or sometimes you are so particular about boss. Sometimes it doesn't have to be boss to boss. It can be peer to peer.
Yeah.
I was in a particular condition, in a situation where one guy said something. And I'm like, did you really say that? But I just pretended I didn't hear. I pretended I didn't hear him. I went back to my seat. The guy now called me and said, did you hear what I said, Mama? And I said, seriously, this guy is losing his mind. He actually called me. I just said one or two things and I closed the chapter, but the Mama and I'm like, seriously? Seriously?
Particularly these days, it applies to Christians. Okay, you're in a group of friends and not all of them are born again Christians. And you find it hard to air your views because you don't want to be outcast. You don't want to be like, okay, she's not in the in crowd.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I hear people saying it, So I guess if you just have to see that, look, you can't please everyone, and anyone who is even worth it at all would take you the way you truly are.
True.
You understand?
True.
So
Alright, we have to go. Do you ladies feel like we've done some attacking, or do you guys want us to talk about next week?
She brought in another aspect because we've not talked about peer to peer and peer pressure and all that stuff.
Okay, so next week we'll do this again.
Yeah.
Alright, so you guys, if you want to be a part of the show next week, please join us at 6 o'clock on Unilag 103.1 FM, and we'll be talking about how you can be assertive with your peers. Okay. Alright, good night, people.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good weekend.